I overgot care.
Okay, so three, two, one. Hey everyone, it's Connie Pheiff, and welcome back to another episode of the Connie Pheiff Show, where we are providing information for and interviewing those executives who dare. So today I have two really incredible guests for the show today. And let me first properly introduce each of them because when I do, you're going to know why you're going to want to really sit back and listen to what they have to say because they truly are making a difference. So he is recognized um, actor, media guest, author, keynote speaker, and television host. You've seen him on shows like MTV, Cablevision, United Nations, UPN, MMN, BBS, auctions, the list goes on and on and on. And even on America's Worst Chef. she, she, and I think he might have won that one. She is an award-winning author, keynote speaker, a vulnerable storyteller expert, and even receiving a personal note from Desmond Tutu after hearing a talk of hers on forgiveness. Incredible, both incredible. And both of today's guests are significant voices contributors to the LGBTQ plus community. So welcome to the Connie Pheiff Show, Sean Bennett and Meagan O'Nan.
Woo! Thank you for having me.
Yay,
Woo!
thank you.
Yay! So I I I want to get one of those buttons, that clap and say yes, yes, everybody's here, everybody's cheering. So I know we're talking about the LGBTQ community, and I mean recently we just had the Grammys, and during the Grammys there were actually several award winners from this community, and the community was really recognized. I mean, from the likes of Madonna to Lizzo and to some other people there as well. Um, and everyone has a different meaning or a different take on what that community means to them. So I'm going to start by Sean asking you, what does this community mean to you?
To me, the community, and when we use the word pride, it's all about building yourself back up. Because originally, pride was used in the civil rights movement. Because I think when people tell you you're not belonging, you're not good enough, you're not part of society, then your only desire is to really get what the Declaration of Independence says, that we're all created equal. But I think it's easier said than done because, pride isn't about hubris or ego. It's more about loving yourself so you can love others and accepting people where they are today. I think that's the hardest thing. I mean, we all use the term unconditional love, but how many of us get it or give it, or are open to accept it? I mean, even, Whitney Houston saying the greatest love of all is learning to love yourself. Did she learn that lesson? I mean, I didn't know her personally. I can't speak to it, but it seems like we all have our issues, we all have our struggles, and sometimes it's a process. I mean, RuPaul, who I love, says, if you ain't gonna love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen? And I think he's right, but it's easier said than done. I don't think it just is something that happens overnight. And it's something that you have to apply to others as well. I mean, I learned a lot of times I was carrying grudges and, had some anger towards unresolved issues because my father wasn't the man I wanted him to be. So one of my lectures is about speaking to the fact that I never had power in the situation because I was always waiting for him to be the father I wanted him to be. I expected him to be. He was never the dad throwing a ball. He was never the dad saying, I love you. And then all I remembered were all the horrible incidents where when I was 9, me and my friends were going to perform after my holy, grew up Italian, how you doing, Holy First Communion, so there was a whole like little skit and songs and dances. Older girls in the community taught me at 9. Long and short, I went downstairs to get ready. My cousins, who were like little goombas, were like, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to put on a show. They're like, you get sad. And I looked and my dad started saying the same thing. And it like destroyed me. I mean, I was so sad. I went running to the stairs. I started bawling. My mother thought I had stage fright. So she's like, honey, you don't have to perform. I'm like, that's not it. Da, 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 da. And long and short, I performed. Everybody thought we had professional help. We were just kids who naturally loved to perform and were good at it. And then my father went to put his arm around me, and I remember pushing it away. And that to me was just like, when our relationship really cracked. And then from the ages of 9 to like 27, after my parents divorced, I was afraid he potentially could hurt me on visits to get revenge to my mother. And there were all these other incidents that I go into when I give a full speech. But the short of it is I had no communication with him because I was afraid and he didn't know how to step up. So I blamed him all those years. And so because I am an actor who's had, small roles in bigger projects and big roles in smaller projects, I would always use him as my arch villain to like bring up the anger and that sense memory. And to the point where when I finally came to the conclusion, I have no power in this situation unless I reach out. And one of the life hacks, I teach is that accepting blame in any situation is a way to mend a bridge. It's a way to reach out, a way to fix a bridge. Even if you don't feel you're to blame, if somebody got robbed, clearly they didn't ask for it. But at the same time, they can maybe feel less of a victim if they're like, well, now I know, don't keep my ear pods in when I'm running, be more aware of my surroundings. Maybe I shouldn't trust everybody. So same type of thing. With this process for reaching out to others, you could write, call. And what I decided to do was call family members to try to strengthen that bond that was weak. So being a little bit of a wimp, I started with my cousin. So I called my cousin and I'm like, hey, we're not as close as we could be. We had no big rift. I just wanted to apologize and I hope we could get closer. And he asked me, he's like, are you dying? I was like, no. I was like, I'm taking this course. I'm getting self-awareness. So I just want to let you know. So now me and my cousin have an amazing relationship. So then I had to apply it in the hard part. I had to apply it with my father. So I called him and then I said, I'm sorry that if I, held a grudge all these years and I didn't reach out earlier. And at first his response was kind of, not what I wanted. It was like, oh, I'm glad you came around. And I'm like, okay. But I was trying to accept him where he was. And in that process, I realized that over the years, because it had been so many years from being a kid to an adult, that I created, an inner voice in my head that he almost sounded like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. It's like, eh. And then I heard him. I was like, oh, he has a higher pitched voice. This man actually has a sense of humor. He's just a flawed person like all of us. And by talking to him, I learned, his take, and he was sorry about his relationship with my mother. And he finally said he loved me. And it was
healing. That had to be so healing. And I just want to go back and say, okay, can we get an amen to again everything that you did and what you went through. I want to come back to that in a minute, Sean, but I want to give Meagan a chance here because I want to hear from you, Meagan, as well. Really, what does this mean to you and how it has affected your life?
Well, the original question was about community, and it really got me thinking about what community I had when I was outed in Mississippi in 2004. And I had this very small little community of fellow athletes because I was an athlete at Mississippi State who were all in the closet, but we had each other, right? And it was small, but we knew we understood each other more than anybody else could. We didn't talk about it, but it was definitely there, right? And then when I was outed, my spiritual community completely disowned me. And that's who I needed the most. And so I went through this process of kind of like what Sean was talking about, of just really trying to figure out what community was for me. And it was a painful process. And I didn't really know. I didn't know what an out and proud community was at the time. I didn't have a role model, showing me the way. So I really had to figure it out by myself. And I ended up leaving Mississippi for a long time to figure out where I fit in spiritually, to figure out who I was as an LGBTQ person in this world without the pressure of society, without the pressure of the people around me, the pressure of culture, and left for a long time and ended up coming back and have discovered over the years, like Sean was saying, is taking that active approach, that proactive approach. I had to do the healing work myself. I had to be the one reaching out. I had to be the one sharing my stories. I had to be the one initiating those hard conversations so that there could be healing for me, so that I could then engage in community. And so, with my upcoming book, I talk about this a lot, is just that 3-step process of really owning and accepting who you are. And then moving on to the next part of sharing who you are, sharing your story, sharing what you've been through, whatever that conversation avenue is, whether it's with your dad or your mom or, someone who really hurt you on that process, whether you're LGBTQ plus or not. It's so important to share those stories so that you can get them out of your system and really relive and engage with those. And then to me, it's about connection and community and becoming a part of something bigger than yourself. So community means everything to me, in the sense that I know I'm the one that has to be proactive if I want to have something meaningful in my life.
I'm going to throw out a question to that, for both of you, because you're saying you're the ones that had to do the reach out and talking to other people. And what do you think holds people back from them actually be the one to reach out to you, Meagan, to say, hey, I'm here for you, good, bad, or indifferent. We're here for each other. We're family. We're a community. What do you think the fear is? Like, let's help people overcome that fear. So what do you think that fear is of people to really open up and have that conversation with you, putting it on the reverse?
If they're not a part of the LGBTQ plus community, I think it's just a lack of understanding and not knowing how to understand. I've navigated this with my mom a lot, is that she has often said, I just don't understand. And I've always said, you don't have to understand. You just have to accept me. So I think people want to go into a relationship understanding where someone is coming from. And I think that's a lot of the breakdown we see today, is like, we feel like we have to understand, but we don't. We just need to be willing to accept. We need to be willing to be seen. And I think that fear of not being sure keeps people from taking that step. So that's kind of I don't know how you feel about it, Sean, but that's kind of been my experience.
I definitely think that fear can control a lot of folks. And I also think a lot of times everybody has an ego and we get trapped in our own ego. So you may be right. I mean, so my whole little life hack, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong in the situation. If you want to heal the situation, sometimes you have to be the bigger individual in the situation. And the more you're able to accept all of you, the more you're able to accept all of someone else. And I think a lot of times it's easier to just put people in boxes or labels. But I think a lot of that also comes from people's own individual pain. I mean, I think a lot of these issues are universal, whether you're gay or not. We all have struggles. We all have issues. We all have pain. We all have egos. If I'm a person in pain, I can't then reach out to somebody else who's maybe in pain. You have to first heal yourself. So to me, that's kind of what it's about. But community is great, but the healthier the community is, it's comprised of individuals. So you need healthy individuals to make a healthy community. And that's why a lot of times, people in the gay community will form their own families, because maybe their families were toxic, were not accepting, or abusive, and maybe they weren't open to healing. Maybe they weren't open or receptive to a call. There's not always, this is 100% going to work, but it means that you've claimed power in the situation. So now you're no longer a victim in the situation. That's how I approach things, or try to, because, it's a learning process. We're not perfect, I'd like to be, but
right, we're not perfect. Yeah, I mean, great points from both of you. And again, you need to move from that place of being that victim, and and move beyond that. And even when I got divorced, I remember people shunned me because I was divorced. I was the only one in my family that got divorced. It was like, oh dear, we're like, she's divorced, like we're not going to have we can't talk to her. And I think it's that fear of people, and unless they've walked in your shoes, they truly don't understand what it is. I have a cousin who's gay, and I remember growing up, I held her secret for her. And I remember when she had moved on and she had moved to Florida, and the one time, and her mother had a really, really hard time with it. And I remember, her mom saying, yeah, she's going to go to Florida and visit with her. Well, we had like this chain. I'm calling another person to say, get a hold of her, let her know her mother's coming, get prepared. So
Hide the keys to the girlfriend. Hide the flannel. Hide the
I
editing program.
all right, take it back down. It would like we had like this, and that was before cell phones, right? So I'm talking, forever years ago. So like we had like this chain reaction going. Make sure you tell her mom is coming. So yeah, and to do stuff like that, it's crazy. And now we laugh, but for some people, they're like, okay, that's kind of like the norm, and and how they live.
Yeah.
So, and I talked about her being in Florida when she first went there. She went to Disney, and Sean, and you say it, Disney, the gayest place on earth, right?
Yeah, that used to be their slogan. It meant something totally different. It can be lighthearted and carefree. So that's why I'm like, come
Mhm.
on, let's say gay. Who doesn't
Right.
want to be carefree and lighthearted? I mean, isn't that a great way? Look, Disney's behind me. Boom.
Nice.
We're
And
magical.
my father-in-law worked for Disney, and he was a scientist, and he worked for NASA for years, and then his retirement job was at Disney, and he was the pool chemist. He'd go in at 4 o'clock in the morning and test the pools, and it kept him busy. So I remember I was there visiting, and I said to him, I said, "Oh, my cousin's coming over, and she works at Disney." And he's like, "Really? Is she one of the gay ones?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Gorge.
And he was like, "Oh, I love her," and he was like, just because he got to know and understand that environment, right, from working there. So it was just so funny that he said that. He's like, "Oh, I love her. Tell her come on over," So, and it's really an education, and that's what both of you are doing. You're educating folks beyond your community that this is who we are. We're human, and we just want to be accepted.
Right.
Just want to be accepted. Um, so you know, and we talked about the issues being universal. It's not just for gay people. It's other people as well. But what advice? I'll go to you this time, Sean. What advice do you have for people to fully understand this community and why we are all treated equal, and all you're doing is asking for acceptance?
To me, it's as if I said, Asian people, African American people. Somebody doesn't walk around saying, I'm Asian. Today, I'm only doing Asian things, or today I'm Latino. I'm only going to salsa all day and eat guacamole. So I think it's kind of the same thing because I'm talking to two beautiful ladies, meant in the best way. But the point is, our founding fathers were religious straight white men. So we have this idea, I think, that if women, or because it started from a straight man's view, if women don't want a man, then now I'm angry or I can't accept them. And if a man may be submissive in the bedroom, then he's less than a man. And so everything is reduced to an act. But clearly, gay people, any minority, any group, no matter what color, they're not just doing one thing. They're not, a lot of people aren't just, dancing merengue. African American people aren't, just, doing Black History Month. Gay people aren't just having sex. I mean, there's more to all of us. We're all connected. We all have the same wants, needs, desires. And that's what makes it universal. And what I think me and Meagan have in common is that we're open to share stories to help connect. One of my other stories that I like to tell to help connect to people is how severely I was bullied, when I was going to high school, and to the point where I was bludgeoned to my face so badly that I needed surgery afterward. And I didn't know how to get out or what to do. 90+% of the gay community are bullied every day. I felt ashamed to tell my mother. But then I just kept praying on it, looking for a way. Eventually I found a high school of performing arts that kind of like led the way so I could no longer be victimized and accepted, which I was. But what it also taught me, very shocking to me, after I was beaten, I had 1 month left of school. So I stuck it out and I was in the school play. And it was a comedy where after everybody calling me fag and worse, I had to dress as a woman in a scene. So clearly I was terrified about doing this. I mean, I put a football for breasts. I mean, it was supposed to be obvious and so forth. But, how is this going to go over? I mean, I was just beaten horribly by the school's bully. So anyhow, I did the show. And when I stepped out and started doing my comedy, like, hello, you know, as a female or whatever I did at 16, I heard laughs and I was shocked and I got applause because being a performer, being a communicator is who I am. I mean, and I think even from the worst of people or worst of situations, if we connect to who we are and what our truth is, what our passion is, that reaches anyone. When I was done with that play, one of the high school quarterbacks like was chasing after me and it's like, oh God, here we go again. And he said how terrific I did. And I was shocked. Now, it still meant I had to get the hell out of that school, but it taught me that, you know, wow, you know, art, communication, stories can reach, can connect, and, you know, cut through. And that's why I'm here today. That's what I want to do, to share my story, to hopefully inspire others and show how we're all connected, gay or not.
I love that. I love that. So let's jump into the programming that you two are delivering and available for Pride Month, whether it be June. I know in October, there's some events that companies and corporations and some communities have as well. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, Meagan, if you can share, what is it that you're going to bring to these events that these corporations really need to bring you in so their people can hear your message?
I think it's mostly empowerment and really coming into yourself and being okay with who you are. I mean, everybody wants their employees to love themselves so that they can then create more beautiful, whatever it is they're working on. It affects the company's bottom line for their employees or their team members or their executives to have that layer of acceptance of all people. And I think Sean and I, with our stories and with what we've just talked about today and how we approach things of not blaming others and really taking responsibility, this mindset and this philosophy is something that I think any corporation, any team would definitely benefit from because, you know, obviously Sean's hilarious. He just sounded like Mrs. Doubtfire. So not only are we like deep and real and tell really vulnerable stories, but we're fun and engaging and we both love who we are and we enjoy our lives. And I think that comes across very much so. You can tell just in this conversation. So that's a little bit of my perspective on it.
Yeah, and they're looking for entertainment and education.
That's right.
I mean, that's what companies. Sean, do you want to add anything to that? What you guys are going to be delivering when you do these programs?
Sure. In addition to empowerment, I think it's all about self-acceptance and, you know, I believe turning your mess into your message, you know, because we all have something, you know, we all have a past and, you know, bullying isn't just a gay thing. You know, having, you know, dysfunctional families isn't just a gay thing. But I think if it helps somebody realize like, oh, some of their issues, you know, actually I relate to, now we have common ground. Now we can start that conversation, take it beyond, we can, you know, bridge the gap. And I think it's just as important, you know, for the gay community, because I think if people tell you for years you're not good enough, sometimes you need a helping hand to be built back. And I don't know if it's always offered. We might have healthcare, we might have, you know, therapists to see, but what about, you know, just self-improvement, self-love, knowing that somebody's there to listen to their stories as well. And I know Meagan and I kind of specialize in customizing our talks to whatever the client or corporation or individual may want.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
I
it.
was also thinking too, you know, it's about having pride in who you are. And
Yes.
we all need
Yeah.
that. Who doesn't need that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's go into a couple really quick rapid fire questions. So if you can keep your responses very small, that would be awesome. And either one of you can yell out or both of you can yell out. So first one, what's something people get wrong about you?
Ooh.
With me, I think it's that I'm less approachable than I am because I have like kind of cartoon villain features. So appropriate enough with like, you know, Disney behind me. It's like, Belle's the prettiest. That makes her the best. So they assume, you know, it's like, uh-oh, he has dark hair, dark eyes. Is he a vampire? But no, I'm not a vampire. And I'm actually pretty funny and nice. So once I open my mouth, I think maybe that becomes more clear.
I think people think because of where I live and what I've done and, you know, the work that I've done over the years, that I'm just strong. And I'm a softie, you know, I struggle like everybody else. I don't have it together all the time. And, you know, so I think that's the perception, is that I'm just always strong and have it together.
Love it, love it, love it. What's your favorite quote?
Oh, I'm gonna go with the one that I use. Oh, well, two. I have two. If you can dream it, you can do it. Disney. Hello. I grew up in Orlando in a trailer. I'm the original Honey Boo Boo, yo. And then the other, if you can't love yourself, how are you gonna love somebody else? So
Yeah, I'll say be the change you want to see in the world.
yes.
How about what's your favorite business book?
Ooh.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That one turned my world around and how I saw business.
I think The Artist Way. I really liked it, just as far as like journaling every day and just really connecting to yourself and going a little bit deeper, even if it's not intentional in the beginning.
Okay. What's one thing you're excited about right now?
I'm excited about doing LGBTQ talks for Pride and throughout the year.
Ooh.
And with you ladies, come on.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about that. I'm excited about my book coming out in April.
Yes.
It's a 2-year labor of love, and I'm ready.
Okay. All right. All right. So that is all we got for today. Sean, Bennett, Megan, I want to thank you for being here and making and helping the Connie Pheiff Show be the fabulous show that it is. So for everybody out there, keep following us. Make sure you check back often. And if you are looking to bring in either of these two or both of them together, just reach out to TCAA.co and they'll get you all set up. So thanks for being here tonight. Again, I'm Connie Pheiff, and this is the Connie Pheiff Show. And this is where executives come, because executives who dare. And if you're interested in networking with your peers as an executive, make sure you reach out to us. We'd love to have a chat with you. Until next time, enjoy your day and peace to everybody. Bye-bye.